Ay, 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 ay. Where do we even begin? Hey guys, what's going on? Memes here. Yes, 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 I am talking about this current situation, whatever the heck you want to call it. I know, I know. I was busy playing around, going around trying to see if I could learn myself a few things and may occasionally to discover a few interesting things. But that's not why we're here. What are we talking about here? We're talking about scientific drama. Oh, yeah, yeah. Number one, well, nobody would ever post something to get some engagement because that's what folks are talking about. But it seems like, yes, that is part of the purpose here. It would be nice to be monetized at some point or another. But number two, just some of the discourse surrounding this is very fascinating because it's taking the form of what a lot of other discourse is going in, and that's why in the comments it's listed as an op-ed, aka an editorial where I am labeling and giving my opinion on the situation. So first off, basically, I've learned things from both of these gentlemen. Actually, to be fair, I gotta give credit to Dr. Weinstein. When he was on the Joe Rogan Experience, he was talking about spinners, and it completely blew my mind. I'm like, whoa, that's absolutely fascinating. He's doing a little wine dance, or where it's like, all right, how do you turn this all the way around? It's like, oh, you go around and you do that. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Okay, so that was part of what helped get me into my whole scientific kick. Okay, and then Professor Sean Carroll, his biggest ideas in the universe. Oh my God, for at least me personally, that has been one of the most impactful, useful things. Because, again, I don't come from a traditional scientific physics background, but he's going through all these different things, classical physics, quantum mechanics. He's laying it out. He's going through the equations and everything. Personally, I think they're gold. So, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I ain't your dad or anything. But if you're curious about physics, personally, I would highly recommend them. Okay. Because even just still the algorithm, I was listening to that when I was working in the warehouse during the pandemic. I'm like, I don't know what this is. But if there's one thing I've learned about learning different things, at least within a foreign language, which to me at that time, the physics stuff in general kind of seemed like a foreign language because I hadn't been in it. I took like modern physics for like a week and a half in college and stuff. Why? Because it seemed like a cool class. I didn't realize I was supposed to take physics 1 through 3, all the lab, thermodynamics, electromagnetism, and stuff like that. But I was able to start calculating the mass energy of a particle going 0.99999 times the speed of light or whatever. But this, long story short, it makes me sad because I don't think this is how science is supposed to be. And again, Piers Morgan is Piers Morgan. He's been within the generalized media and talking about different topics for a long time. And as of now, what is it? Let's take a look. It's probably, I don't know, at least 250,000 or so people have viewed it so far. Let's see, what are we up to? Okay, around 300,000 or so. As we can see, I didn't quite finish it. I think I got about 40 minutes or so in, and it just, I had to click off. Now, I'm not saying I won't finish it, because to say that I'm never going to watch it, that would probably be a lie. Maybe I'll finish it. But just some of the reactions you're getting, it's amazing because it almost seems exactly what you would suspect for other quote-unquote divisive issues and everything. Before we'll get into that a little bit there. Personally, I did kind of the synchronicity of saying, don't talk about physics Fight Club. At least here at the monastery, we literally watched Fight Club this past week. It's been a long time since I watched that movie, and I really totally forgot a lot of the plot there. And I'm like, wow, this is a good movie. And what I've seen is a lot of folks, depending upon your particular persuasion. Perhaps you happen to be a big fan of Dr. Eric Weinstein, and you're like, oh my God, he layeth the smacketh down on Professor Sean Carroll. Because I saw somebody, I think on one of the discords or something, saying it's like, well, Sean, you're not a physicist, you're an astronomer. I'm like, oh, that was a very low blow. Now, to be fair, if you want to go, where the heck did that statement come from? I'm pretty sure Professor Carroll had originally applied to be part of the physics program at Harvard or something, and they were full at the time, but there happened to be an opening in the astronomy department and stuff, and that is actually kind of where he did get one of his big breaks, as far as I know, because one of the things he was working on was plotting these different galactic things, and then there was a big thing where they thought they found something, and it was part of the work that he had put up there, and to his credit, he's like, well, that's not really what the data was showing and everything. So something that was a huge bona fide thing that people were like, oh, yes, look at this. He's like, well, that's not actually what it said. But to say he's not a physicist, he publishes physics papers, he's a physics professor and everything. I thought that was kind of a little bit disingenuous. But then again, if you're going to take the perspective of, oh, well, Dr. Eric Weinstein, oh, he's not a physicist. And to be fair, he even says he's not a physicist. Now, he happens to seem to know a good deal about physics, and he has presented geometric unity, which, at least the claim is a method of developing a fundamental framework for physics there. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I know everything that's going on there. I mean, there's so much notation and everything. I listened to Professor Keating's video where Dr. Eric Weinstein was at UCSD there, and he was giving a presentation there and going over dark energy and how he thinks that that's not necessarily a thing, and he has ways to account for that. Hey, power to him. I'm happy to explore ideas all over the place, but then I see a lot of folks within the general physics community that I follow and everything, and a lot of people are just like poo-pooing on stuff like that, and other physicists were just like, they were posting some pretty dank memes about it, and I'm like, wow. It's a lot of these fairly reserved individuals were just not happy, and it just really makes me sad that we seem to be to the point now where it's like, oh, you're in a group, you're out of group. To be fair, Dr. Eric Weinstein, when he starts off, I think, with one of Professor Keating's videos, literally starts with Dr. Weinstein saying that quantum gravity is a mental disorder and stuff. It's like, pardon? I mean, I think a lot of people would disagree with you, Dr. Weinstein. I'm just like, okay, now I have no idea. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe quantum gravity makes no sense, and we've completely been led astray. But I also take into context probably the most powerful thing I've ever learned from Dr. Eric Weinstein, when that was his article on kayfabe. What is kayfabe? Kayfabe is essentially the whole thing within the business of professional wrestling. You're putting on a particular character show. Now, what does that mean? Well, take, for instance, one of my favorite professional wrestlers, the Macho Man Randy Savage. Basically, the Macho Man, as far as I know, he was just himself. He just kind of cranked it up to 11 when he was in the ring. Because occasionally he would be complaining. It's like, oh, I seem to be missing some of my flights because people keep stopping me at the airport. It's like, well, Randy, aren't you still going around like in all your standard getup? You're a very colorful character. He's like, oh, well, maybe that is it. Something like that. I mean, I'm one to talk because a lot of times I'm wearing a bright yellow shirt with either a level up or an equation on it. So, I mean, I kind of resemble that. But the thing is, I don't want to say the word cringe. It really made me cringe. It made me sad for science because, in my opinion, a lot of folks are going to look at this and they're going to be like, what the heck is going on? Is science broken? Now, a lot of folks around the world would probably say, yeah, science in the United States seems to be broken. Well, there seems to be massive cuts to it. Now, are those cuts going to make us a much leaner, more efficient machine? Maybe, but I seem to notice a lot of folks that have been doing research. Now, maybe you don't agree with their research. Maybe you don't agree with their personal political opinions, but tending to invest in research in the United States is, I'm pretty sure, at least one, kind of in the Constitution to invest in for like the sciences and the arts and stuff like that. Again, I'm not a constitutional scholar or anything, but I tend to feel investing in science is important. I'd love to see more of it, especially for things that can help us move forward, help humanity level up, if you would. I don't have the shirt on right now because it's very hot out. This is a little bit lighter. But we'll go through a little bit of this. First off, let's say hi to some of the folks in the chat. Jax's response, WTF, did you put on a nice shirt for this video? To be fair, I think this is actually a mechanic shop shirt that Thad's cousin-in-law gave to me. So yes, there's a collar on this shirt actually, but it is lightweight material. Welcome, Keishel. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for popping in. Yes. Jeez, I kind of feel like Ray now. We're talking about the drama, but rather than just being like, oh, blah, 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 mean words. It really, should we take a look at it? Because again, I mean, the memes of this could be totally fantastic as well. And again, I perhaps have contributed to a little bit of the zeitgeist, because what is it? I think Dr. Salvatore Pius, I was on something with him with, I think, Jeremy the Alien Scientist last year or something like that. And they were talking about like, well, you're not allowed to consider things. And I think Dr. Eric Weinstein's big push, and probably one of the reasons he was more aggressive in saying things where I'm like, yeah, I think that's unfair personally, was he's trying to, well, number one, let's be fair. I mean, I think it was Dr. Hossefeld that says it's like, well, the only people that seem to be pushing back are outsiders, like Dr. Eric Weinstein and maybe, was it Tim Maudlin or maybe somebody else, or Garrett Lisi, and it's like, but then they're pushing their own theories of everything, or whatever you want to call it, a fundamental theory of physics. And it's like, okay, yeah, no, part of that is probably self-interest. But he is highlighting something that I have heard from some folks within the greater scientific, let's say, fringes, or maybe outside. Maybe they're part of academia, but maybe you haven't been in academia for a while, so you don't have a .edu email. So if you send something from a standard Gmail, if you're going to go through things and you're getting lots of email, what's the standard sorting process? Well, it is from a random Gmail, and don't even look at it, or maybe we discount it. Maybe we just give a quick skim, and we're not going to pay as much attention as something, if you got something from like a Harvard and MIT, or just even just a general .edu email address. That's the system. Is the system perfect? No. And even Professor Carroll, I've heard him say this. I think even in the discussion, Professor Carroll at one point says, I find myself in the unfashionable position of having to defend the establishment in this case, because he had to push back against some of the things that Dr. Weinstein was saying, and some of the things like, I think, he talks about like some of the cyborg wooden things. I heard some folks on Twitter just like, did he really just claim like that he created this? Now I have no idea. Hey, maybe at the time he had worked on something. I know Dr. Eric Weinstein had mentioned something. He was at some Harvard thing, and then some Russian physicist that happened to be there says, doesn't that seem a lot akin to something that one of the individuals here was saying? And everyone's looking back at Dr. Eric Weinstein. He's got literally picking his nose at the time. I remember that story. I can't vouch for those stories, but it really seems like people are kind of just dividing this down the standard in-group, out-group, whatever we tend to feel. Because what I've seen a lot in some places on Discord, and full disclosure, I was totally a Dr. Eric Weinstein fanboy for a while. I saw this GU thing. It seemed new. It seemed fascinating. He was saying things with confidence and conviction. And personally, as somebody that came from a corporate sales background, you can, what's the old saying? It's like, if you have enough confidence and conviction, you can sell a ketchup popsicle to a Eskimo lady wearing white gloves or something like that. It's something, one of those things where you're like, that doesn't make sense. Why would somebody with nice, pretty white gloves want to have a ketchup popsicle? It's going to make things dirty. But the thing is, at least within sales, one of the things they hit home is just say it with confidence and conviction. And that's why very often they'll train you on a script. Like there are literally some jobs where it's literally, you must memorize this script and basically hit all these points because we have statistically found that this works. And it works for a reason. Will it always work? No. But if you have enough opportunities, and that's one of the things I learned from doing door-to-door sales, they're like, basically you have to knock on about 50 doors before you're going to get a particular sale for, I think that was the broadband industry or something. And now sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but at least from my experience, there's a lot of really smart folks that work at these corporations, so those statistics are there. So I see we have some other folks popping in here. We got Sandro. All right. Sandro is talking about, I think, his thermodynamic model there. I think, okay, I'm not supposed to say. There totally wasn't somebody that popped in the other day asking about that. So Sandro, if you have, I have my little email at the Memes of Destruction here on the channel. I'm not sure if you sent me something before. If you would like to send me something again, any of the literature on some stuff you worked at, I may have glanced at it a little bit. If you have further progress and or hopefully I've learned more since the last time, so I might be able to digest it wrong, but that's a very bold thing to say that Boltzmann is wrong. Okay, one of the other things here, hold on, is there's the old saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Okay. So one of the things that I found is you can go out there and be like, oh, this is wrong, this is no good. And there will be people that agree with you. Why? Because it's not like some people just like to be contrarian. I mean, present company included. I love being contrarian. I love going around and stirring the pot and everything. I mean, look, I'm talking about drama between two people that I happen to learn from. And I remember, what was it, after this, I think Professor Keating, he's had both those individuals on and everything. He asked, he's like, should I host a debate between Eric Weinstein and Sean Carroll? Like 87% of the folks are like, yes. I was one of the few people that I'm like, I'm like, personally, I prefer to see these two together in front of a whiteboard. So, I mean, rather than having cameras on folks and people feeling like, oh, we need to make our points. It's like, oh, I either need to jab at this person to kind of either undermine their credibility, to make people think that I'm smarter or something like that, or I need to like basically play, it's like, oh, I mean, I am an actual professor and everything, and it's like, well, what have you done? It's you're some dude out there that publishes something on April Fool's Day or something like that. It's as a creative work or something. It's, again, I haven't finished it. It just got to the point where it started to kind of get, it seemed to get kind of nasty. And that's one of the things where it's like, all right, I'm happy to see the ideas. I'd like to see the ideas. I would personally love to have a Sean Carroll, a Dr. Eric Weinstein, have a whole bunch of smart folks, and maybe we don't shove cameras in their faces for a while, because it's not like anybody would ever act different when the camera all of a sudden turned on. I mean, that would be disingenuous. Or perhaps not like somebody would ever play a character on the internet. It's not like with my time in the greater political sphere, I literally saw people up, down, left, and right where they're like, oh, well, so-and-so is actually pretty chill. It's like, oh, no, when I go on and I'm doing my videos, I am playing a character. I'm like, all right, that's totally cool. Are your audiences aware of that? Because we all know that everybody that watches something on the internet about somebody, they know their full story, the total backstory about everything that's going on. Or maybe somebody comes in at a particular point for whatever reason, and they're like, oh my God, look at this. Because if you're getting part of a story, and full disclosure, it's like, all I know is after I stopped actively watching Tim Pool videos, I feel like my personal mental health got a lot better, because it's like, oh my God, I feel far less angry. But then again, I've heard, okay, quick tangent. I think it's Brian Rommel on Twitter. honestly, I have no idea who he is. He just seems to be a guy that's been in IT and a lot of stuff for a while. But he was saying like, well, basically the whole AI, or more like the algorithm is basically kind of, I don't want to say, is it kind of quote unquote grooming us to certain things? I'm leaning towards maybe it is a little bit. Why? Because the algorithm is doing what it's supposed to do. If it wants you to be engaged, if it wants you to spend time consuming, consume, then it's going to show you things that you're going to spend more time on, whatever the site, whether it's the Twitters, whether it's the YouTubes, whether it's the Instagrams, the Facebooks, this or that. Hey, wasn't that why Facebook had Farmville and stuff? Look at the time that people are spending on our platform. I had friends that they totally loved that. It wasn't particularly my thing. But if folks want to get more engagement there, it's like, well, if you talk about things to get people angry, it's literally the old Howard Stern principle. It's like, yeah, your fans, yeah, they'll watch for an hour. The people that hate you, they're going to watch the whole dang thing. Why? Oh, we're going to want to see what somebody does next. I learned that from Doc here on YouTube. Hopefully you're all right, my friend. Greater Insomniac stream. Wow, we're going back in time here. Sorry, let's get back to the chat and we can actually get into this. Yes. Hey, Laszlo. Laszlo's commenting. Lies, dang lies and statistics. Oh God, Sandra's coming. Jerry Springer physics. What the fuck? Jerry. Oh yeah, I had been making the comment was that when I was on with Salvatore Pius, I introduced the term mixed mental arts, which is personally, if you were going to take the antipode, if you would, the other side, it's like, okay, you have IBS on one side. What the heck is IBS? Aside from irritable bowel syndrome, it's AKA internet blood sports. Okay. So that's basically akin to getting in a fight in the back alley and bottling somebody over the head outside a bar. Again, the Memes of Destruction channel does not condone violence unless we were to legalize dueling. Okay. But, okay, what would the difference be if you actually had folks that were attempting to have an intellectual dialogos, if you would, a little bit of a dialogue there and actually trying to work through things? It is a bit of a parody on the term MMA because it literally is MMA, mixed mental arts. I don't think this was it. This was... It wasn't quite a back alley bottling or something, but it seemed a lot more akin to professional wrestling. And I'm unsure if Professor Carroll has read Dr. Eric Weinstein's article on kayfabe. I actually did a quick video just kind of reading through it just because I think it's very fascinating because as soon as you realize that, wait a second, some people might be putting on a show for a camera and maybe act a wee bit differently and maybe a little bit less hyperbolic and bombastic offline. Oh, I mean, that would never happen. But, hey, welcome, HR. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Not sure if I've seen you before. I apologize. I can be very bad with keeping up with different stuff and things. So Jax is commenting. So I did not see if they used Fight Club in the name. Did they not take the... Okay, so Piers Morgan takes that because Dr. Eric Weinstein... I'm sure this totally wasn't planned or anything. I mean, then again, I think he actually kind of has said this before, is the first rule of Physics Fight Club is you don't talk about Physics Fight Club. And at least the whole purpose of that, to my knowledge, was that it's like, all right, we're not allowed to talk about certain issues, which that's a fair statement. That is a fair statement because if a lot of time, and again, I'm not an insider within the greater physics community. Now I've talked to some folks that have been part of it and everything. I've excuse me. Beverage real quick. I believe it was God, who is it? Dr. Cesaroni, or something like that, said, listen, if you want to be a particle physicist, you need at least 3 cups of coffee and 3 existential crises a day. Occasionally I might be around there, but I digress. Oh, cool. All right. Yes, Sandra, no, feel free to send it to me, because I also did a few calculations before based upon one of Dr. Unzicker's things that he showed. And then I continued doing the calculations, and I'm like, wait a second, this seems to actually have a bunch more digits for the proton radius that line up with the more recent measurements. That's very interesting. I searched Google. I found one person that had posted like 1 or 2 papers with that number. I didn't find their email yet, but they have an ORCID ID, so I have an ORCID ID, so I'm going to try to reach out there. It looks like they kind of have the same thing. It's basically an equivalence to H bar, but the sheer fact I didn't find any other literature on it is kind of interesting. And it was literally, just replace this charge radius with the classical radius. And the classical radius is something like fine structure constant divided by 4 or something like that. I don't know. I just did some calculations and they seem to line up. But I digress. Hey, Jaden. Let's see. What do we got here? All right. So Jaden is commenting that I got up to when I was admitting to watching Tim Pool videos. Yes. I stopped watching a couple years ago, man. Here's the thing. A lot of times, if you get into, now that is my personal experience. If you start getting into something, a lot of times it will start recommending other things that it thinks you'll like based upon what other viewers are watching. And I've been orbiting around that greater skeptical community or whatnot, where it was whole like, anti-SJW. And then as I pay more attention, I'm like, some of these people, again, hashtag not all, but a lot of these folks started to do things that seem to be what they were criticizing others are doing. I'm like, so you're SJWs. You don't gotta be a lefty to be an SJW. So that's why I don't think you see the term SJW as much. You just see the term woke. It's just an interesting thing if you look at the usage of different words. Just, again, a personal thing, and that's why I backed out of the whole sphere. It's like, it seemed like a lot of people were just looking for reasons to just not like each other and create some drama. Why? Drama pays! If you talk about drama on a frequent and regular basis, and you take a very strong position, and it really doesn't matter which position you take. You take left, you can take right. As long as you're taking a very firm position that a bunch of folks agree with and a bunch of other folks disagree with, you're going to get folks that like you, that agree with that will watch it, and folks that don't like you that will then watch it, and they're going to share it around you. Oh, look at what this lib did, or look at what this con did, blah, 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 blah. And then I got tired of that. I'm like, all right, well, if people want to fight, I say like Dr. Sarazawa said, let them fight. Let's legalize dueling and let all these people have the opportunity to destroy, all capital letters, because that's very important, because we need to know who the bad people are, evil. I'm just saying combat sports are legal in all 50 states as far as I know, and if there are so many bad people out there, a good culture warrior would want to vanquish evil, right? I'm just saying. Okay. Tangent aside, let's get back to this. Let's actually, let's make sure I actually have the right thing presented. And we can take a few looks at this. Actually, no, before that, let's finish going through some of the chat so I can actually try to catch up. Yeah, okay, I think Jaden is commenting that, untrue. You stop hate watching after you learn their rhetoric, as it gets boring seeing one-trick ponies using the same BS like that. Yeah, when you see... Here's the thing. If you can take somebody's statement, take out some of the people that are mentioned, and take out... Basically, if you can replace a couple of the words... If you can treat it like a Mad Libs, that's the thing. If you can treat something like a Mad Libs and just remove some words and replace it with a few other words And then it would be the exact same thing that you're hearing from somebody who's supposed to be on the polar opposite end. Is there really a difference? Now, again, everybody has their own personal experience, and people have very good reasons why they believe the things they do. Some of them, it's because they actually have been hurt. Other people, they make a lot of money by saying very particular things. So if you take a very hard-lined approach, you just pop that outrage thing, and you just surf the outrage train. So that's my personal opinion. There is some charge radius stuff over there. We'll get to that. Hey, welcome, Poindexter. Good to see you. We're just ranting about people that make people angry on the internet and stuff. Yeah. Listen, hey, he says he's a believer in the many worlds. Why? Because from what I've heard, he's like, listen, it's okay to believe the Schrodinger equation. I'm not going to pretend like I'm like, oh my God, I know what the Schrodinger equation is. Basically the change in this, change in that, bada boom, bada bing. It should basically tell you whatever the heck is going on for the generalized thing that you are analyzing. Okay. So, and then again, it depends upon your interpretation and everything. So, and there are some very smart folks working on that. I think the big takeaway, let's actually just get into this. So I think we're caught up there. Let's go back. All right. So the link to this is the doobly-doo. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I'm just giving my personal opinion. The link is in there if you want to watch the full thing. You feel free to check out Piers Morgan Uncensored if that's your thing. So okay. So I think I was got about 40 minutes, and let's see where we are.
Astronomer. What you
Okay, I think this is around the point I needed to check out here, because this seemed like an ad hominem attack. Let's see. All right, let's...
built on my ideas since 1994. The equations that Natty Seiberg and Ed Witten introduced that took over the world were called the insufficiently nonlinear equations when I was at Harvard in 1987 and introduced them.
Okay. I remember Dr. Eric Weinstein saying something about that, but who knows? Maybe it was introduced there, maybe he was not properly credited, but it's like, maybe that is the case. Now, was it in that exact form or anything? And I mean, again, it's not like anybody's ever come up with the same thing around the same time. And Newton, Leibniz. I'm just saying. Oh God, did I get that right? Hold on. I need to double check myself. Who invented calculus? Hold on. I confuse Leibniz. Okay. So it looks like Newton is basically attributed with calculus. Gottfried Leibniz probably invented it a little bit sooner, but since Newton was the most powerful scientist at the time, he tends to get credit for it. Newton. Okay. Yes. My cheap Seinfeld ploy on that. Okay. I don't know. I've heard him tell that story. I wasn't there. Maybe there is a great travesty, but I'm like, okay, all I know is I was working through that little calculation that Dr. Uncensored had presented. I changed out a couple of things on Wolfram Alpha because, Wolfram Alpha gave me the calculations. I'm like, wait, it's about 1/137th of the magnitude of h bar. Huh. Let's divide by the fine structure constant and see what happens. And I got a term. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. And then I did a search because Google happens to be a thing now. And I found that, yes, there was at least one other person that actually had that calculation. Maybe it was in a slightly different form there, but they had the same result. Okay. Is it possible that maybe other folks happened to come up with it, maybe around the same time, and rather than it being a huge conspiracy, maybe they actually invented something. And now maybe you did come up with it first. Maybe that's totally true. And if that is the case, then you know what? We should give credit where credit was due and give citations and everything like that. No, that's kind of fair. Okay, let's get to this next point where this was around the point I had to just turn it off. So
The question is why appear as an entertainer rather than as a physicist? First of all, neither you nor I are trained as physicists, Sean. You're actually trained as an astronomer. What you have in this situation is
okay. Again, to my knowledge, Professor Carroll did share a story where, yes, when he went to Harvard, he was trying to go into a physics program. They happened to be full up, and he's like, well, they happened to be an opening, because I think maybe he did like some summer work with a professor doing some astronomy stuff, and he went into that. But guess what? If you're going to go into astronomy, you're probably going to learn a lot of the math going through there. Just kind of like Dr. Eric Weinstein. He has a degree from Harvard. Basically, he's got a doctorate in mathematics. He's very brilliant. I'm not going to take that away from him, but you're jabbing him like that. I don't know. It seemed, it rubbed me the wrong way. And maybe it's because like I have learned things from both these individuals. And Professor Carroll's, again, his biggest ideas in the universe, I think those are going to probably stand a lot of the test of time. It just makes me sad. It makes me sad. Let's see. Oh, am I just evoking horseshoe theory? Maybe I am. Okay, for those that aren't familiar, horseshoe theory is basically the whole, all right, you're starting at a point, you're going left, you're going right, whatever it is. As soon as you go further enough, you end up basically sounding basically the same. And I remember because, oh God, how many years ago where somebody was like doing, it's like, is this an SJW or a fascist or something like that? And you just removed a couple of words and it's like, who said this? And listen, if you have enough data and you go through enough of what people say, you're always going to find silly things. Heck, I mean, I highlighted this channel originally started from me just being on live streams and saying kind of crazy out there things that could be taken out of context. So I took them out of context myself and put them together in little silly clips. Why? Because it was fun. And you got to be able to kind of laugh at yourself a little bit. That's the thing. Because my general takeaway from a lot of the internet is the internet doesn't like it when people take themselves too seriously. So the internet kind of feels that. It's just my general take on that. Sean's face, what do I think of Sean's face and head shake after Kurt's comments at, I think, you mean Pierce's comments at 24? Hold on, let's go to 24 minutes. All right. Oh, actually it is Kurt. Yeah. Oh, so they have a clip there of Kurt. All right, let's see.
Analyzed it and had a conclusion. And we found this.
Thank you to Eric Weinstein. It's an avant-garde and creative theory. Kurt here, several months later. This has been so long in the making. Geez, you have no idea. Anyhow, I wanted to say that I mean what I just said. I may have said this before in the iceberg, and if I haven't, I should have because it bears repeating. I haven't seen a theory like this come from any single individual ever. Not one that's this fleshed out or has this amount of unexampled connections within itself, as well as to what's known as the theoretical physics backbone that we talked about earlier.
Now, Eric, there's lots of people doing stuff like that about it.
Okay, all right. To be fair, again, I don't know Professor Carroll and stuff. I've listened to a number of his things. I think I'm actually, to full disclosure, I do toss him some money on Patreon. Why? Because I'm able to ask some questions and everything, and I also value what he's actually shared with the world, whether it's his Mindscape discussions or primarily probably his biggest ideas videos. That seemed like a very Sean Carroll thing because, okay, what are you doing? They did take a clip, and they're taking Kurt Mungle, who many people happen to respect Kurt Mungle. There's things that Kurt does behind the scenes that I respect him for. I won't get into, but I feel like he does care. But taking that clip and then basically kind of, let's say, cherry picking it, Sean Carroll's like, okay, you showed a clip from the internet, and Kurt has, to his credit, he has had Sean Carroll on. He has had Dr. Eric Weinstein on. He's had number of folks that I've learned things from on. So, and full disclosure, I also help support Kurt. Toss him some cash on Patreon as well. But you're using that clip, and it's like, look at this clip, because Kurt Mungle said these words, and it seems like an appeal to authority there. It's like, Kurt has a popular channel, he's saying things, and again, Kurt is saying those things, and he's like, okay, does Kurt Mungle represent everybody within the scientific community? No. Kurt is giving his opinion on things. And to his credit, he did that whole geometric unity iceberg thing, going through, analyzing it. And if Kurt is of the opinion that of the things he's seen, because he did do a iceberg on string theory as well, he's like, okay, this is something new, and it did come from, as far as we know, one primary person, because string theory, plenty of folks have been working on the greater string theory landscape for 20, 30, however many years now. And yeah, there's thousands upon thousands of people working on that. So I can see that statement, as far as what he's seen, as true. He's attempting, via geometric unity, Dr. Eric Weinstein is, to try to unify, as far as I know, what we've learned from quantum mechanics and general relativity, taking those ideas and concepts and bundling them together in a particular theoretical framework to try to help explain what's going on. Okay, no, that's fair. His professor, just the look on his face, it's just, he seems to be snickering there, but it's, Professor Carroll is very often, at least from what I've seen, he's very just kind of laid back. He's soft-spoken about things and everything. And then Eric Weinstein is kind of going on, and it's like, I don't know, is he trying to like play a heel here? Or is he kind of like jabbing at him? It's like poking at some of the credibility. And I'm pretty sure I have heard Dr. Eric Weinstein at one point say, maybe I'm thinking about Brian Greene here, but he's like, Sean Carroll is a pretty nice guy and everything. And if you're not being aggressive, because for me, I remember Sean Carroll, where it was either when he was with Brian Greene or maybe somebody else, where they're talking about a lot of like the standard model and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, it's not really as beautiful as we would like. And it's like, yeah, there's some patchworks here. And when you're coming at it from a more understanding perspective, yeah, you're willing to admit, yeah, no, there are some problems. There are things that we don't know. There are things that we could try to do better and try to figure out. But if you kind of start going off, and you're starting off some of your recent talks with, or at least being clipped out, that quote unquote quantum gravity is a mental illness. It's like, okay, so you do realize you basically just insulted basically everybody that's working on quantum gravity. Imagine my shock if people are going to push back on that. And that goes back to it's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say it. And if you just want to have just like a beautiful dumpster fire to delve into and just basically have like, oh, so-and-so owns this, it's like, by all means, it's like, Idiocracy is out there. I think it might even be on Netflix right now. We could totally watch that, because remember, the number one rated show in the world in that movie was Ow, My Balls, aka there was a dude that was just constantly getting hit in the genitals. I thought that movie was supposed to be a warning, not a blueprint, but hey, I digress. Again, I ain't your dad or anything. You feel free to enjoy whatever you enjoy. Okay, so yeah, that was my thoughts on Sean's look there. He's just kind of snickering there. You're actually trained as a astronomer, yeah. Okay, all right. No, well, here's the thing, Jaden. It's the interesting thing about that is it seems like a number of folks that go into physics, especially if they want to go into academia and they don't happen to get a chance at academia, they unfortunately seem to, not always, but occasionally settle for going to Wall Street and making, I believe the term is, a butt ton more money. I don't know. Did this happen to Dr. Eric Weinstein? I don't know. I've heard his stories and everything, and perhaps maybe he was treated like Rudolph. Maybe he wasn't invited to the different reindeer games. I have heard his stories about that, or at least some of the stories, because again, it's like, I'm not his dad. I'm not following him around all these different places, and I see something, and it seems to be interesting, and I'm curious what he has to say. I'm going to listen to it, just like I'm going to listen to Professor Carroll if he has something interesting to say. And I'm like, okay, it's about physics, things that I'm interested in. If people want to talk about other topics that I'm not really interested in, isn't that what people generally do with Joe Rogan? Maybe some folks watch every episode of Joe Rogan. That's totally fine. Maybe you're a big fan. For me, I tend to listen if there's somebody on that I'm interested in listening to. Maybe like a Dr. Eric Weinstein, maybe like a Professor Sean Carroll. That's the thing. They're going to do what you want. But I found it so very interesting. Like, kind of like the dividing line was like, if folks happen to be of the mind that, well, maybe, there's a lot of things wrong with academia now, and Dr. Eric Weinstein is being a crusader for us, trying to go in the right direction. And you know what? Maybe he is. Maybe. I don't know people's intentions. I'm giving my opinion. I am speculating. But again, this is just my opinion. If you actually want to know what these individuals think, you'd have to ask them personally. And we all know that certain social media platforms like Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever you want to do, those are obviously the best places to have those discussions. Or an hour limited broadcast on Piers Morgan, Uncensored, where you're not face to face, you don't have a white. That's my thing. When Professor Keating asked this thing, should I have them on for a debate? I'm like, personally, I prefer to just see maybe not have cameras in people's faces and just have them sit down and at a whiteboard and actually go through what people are thinking, rather than it's like, okay, I'm going to say these words and some folks will agree with me because they tend to agree with me already, and then other folks, well, whatever you say, I will hate on. Anything you say, you're totally wrong. I don't know, that just seems like standard internet dynamics here. But we live in a very interesting time where we're seeing changes. And before, maybe you would expect to see this on... Actually, to be fair, this has been a criticism a lot of time with the news and stuff because, all right, we have like a 5 to 7 minute segment. You have literally 30 seconds to say your piece. So it's like, oh, Professor Kaku, could you tell us about string theory? It's like, okay, so could he go into all the different things about the clavier, this and that? He's like, imagine a beautiful symphony of strings all coming together in harmony and everything leading to our reality. So yes, it's a very whimsical statement. And then maybe as like a 0.000 approximation, it's still not quite right, but a lot of it is with the time constraints. And one of the things that we found with long, full-length podcasts, something like Kurt J. Mungle's or Professor Carroll's or even Dr. Eric Weinstein's Portal, if he ever brings that back, being able to have deep, thoughtful discussions people are interested in. And also personally, I feel like some of the best discussions happen before and after actual broadcasts, aka when the camera goes off and people don't need to worry about, oh, I need a jockey for position. I need to make sure that I am very clear that I am of this mind because this is what my followers, my fans are fans of. So as long as I say all these things, and that's also kind of why I got out of the whole political sphere, because people would just go up there and they just seemed to be talking past each other. People didn't seem to actually try to want to figure things out, because if you just talk about drama and you just want to start something, well, as somebody had pointed out, it's the whole Jerry. And that's what led me to, well, if people really have big problems, what's the ultimate limit of something that somebody believes in? Well, something that they're willing to sacrifice for. And again, the Means of Destruction channel does not promote violence unless we legalize dueling. But if consenting adults want to get in the ring, get in the octagon with folks that they truly disagree with because people are using what we used to call fighting words. That was another thing. When all of a sudden within a 1 week, I went to, what was it, like an MTV News or something like that, watching a very liberal person talk about quote unquote hate speech. And they're like, well, we just used to call those fighting words. And then within a week, one of my very conservative friends was like, Beans, we used to call those fighting words. I'm like, all right, time out, hold on. All of a sudden, when you hear something where two very diametrically opposed individuals, people that seem to disagree on everything, agree and use the exact same words, I'm like, there's something there. I'm like, well, if people are using a bunch of fighting words and combat sports are legal in all 50 states, why aren't these people that are saying that other people are no good, terrible, horrible, very bad people, why aren't they getting in the ring? Now listen. I'm sure people would be willing to do that, of course, because, otherwise, you just be a talker. And that's okay. It's okay to be a talker. But if there's one thing that I've learned from Game of Thrones, it's talkers make me thirsty. I just see that's the thing. Now, I'm sure people's audiences would be totally fine if all of a sudden they brought up to them and it's like, oh, you're willing to get in the ring with this person? It's like, listen, somebody doesn't need to have to be willing to consensually via the ring get punched in the face to defend something they believe in. That would only make me, listen, I might not agree with you, but at least I might actually believe you believe what you're saying. So just putting that out there. All right, Poindexter's commenting that all math is derived from geometry and all real numbers. Maybe. The unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics and the sheer fact that we seem to go back and forth, and actually seems to be able to describe our reality as we know it is, yeah. Yes, playing a puff clip mid-debate seems sus. Okay, let's go back to the very beginning then. Let's go back to see how this was introduced. So, yes, because I'm only playing a few, 15, 20 seconds at a time, because totally fair use, because I know it's not like Piers Morgan Uncensored and all of a sudden bring down the copyright hammer on me, and then I'll have to, whatever, I'll appeal. So let's just see the very beginning intro.
What is your main bone of contention with Eric Weinstein?
You should probably ask Eric that.
Sean has been nothing but civil. He's also extremely nasty. So let me say a bunch of things to Dr. Carroll. Dr. Carroll, I'd like to hear your explanation for 3 generations of flavor chiral fermions with the observed quantum numbers under the group SU3 plus SU2 plus.
U1, okay. Basically the whole, electromagnetism, U1 and SU2, basically that's the standard weak force and everything. And then SU3 is basically, strong force, yada, yada, yada. Okay. That was a very glossed over statement right there. I'm also stopping to give a quick pause just so I can have at least confidence if I need to appeal all that stuff there. Let's see. Okay. Oh, we got Boo in here. Boo J. All right. And saying Garcha Mangal is not the foremost authority to judge geometric unity. Look up Tim Nugent. I have seen Tim Nugent's stuff. And Tim Nugent, I believe, he worked for, I think, Google or one of its subsidiaries. And, so real quick, deep lore story. Okay, hold on. So I actually was on the, one of the unofficial Portal communities, Discords there. So it was set up basically because a lot of folks had listened to a lot of things that Dr. Eric Weinstein had said, and Dr. Eric Weinstein, to his credit, he was on that Discord a bunch. I had never talked to him on that Discord. I had always missed him. I feel bad because some of the trolls on that Discord kind of got a little bit, people did some kind of not cool things. And then Dr. Eric Weinstein, as far as I know, stopped showing up. But it was interesting because I think Tim was on there and, the other people, because what was it? I believe you're right, because I think it was Tim And oh god, it was the other person that Dr. Eric Weinstein had basically kind of threw under the bus because, oh, that's a pseudonym there. It's like they had wrote a rebuttal paper saying, like, here are the problems with geometric unity as he had laid it out. I believe Dr. Hossenfelder had actually put it on her for a blog and stuff at one point. And that was, yes, that did bother me because it's like, well, Dr. Eric Weinstein was like, well, I don't deal with faceless people. It's like, all right, there were at least 2 people on that paper. Yes, there was somebody that was using a pseudonym that personally I remember talking to on that Discord, and they seemed like a pretty real person. They were going over some different geometric concepts and going over some mathematics and everything. They were actually giving presentations and stuff. So I don't really care what they look like. Doesn't matter if who they are in real life. If they're saying things and they are accurate, you're going to completely dismiss this criticism because he wanted people to give feedback. And yes, Tim Nugent, he did give feedback. And if you're like, oh, I don't want to have to deal with a faceless person, it's like, Tim Nugent is not a faceless person. He had his real name on that paper and everything. So you're just going to discount it because one author happened to want to remain anonymous? Yeah, that personally to me doesn't sound like the best reason. I mean, it's not like anybody's ever used pen names in the past or anything, and we highlight those. That kind of seemed a little picky choosy there, where it's like, oh, we're gonna go, oh, no, I don't deal with that. It's because, and I believe part of the reason was, yeah, there were some folks using pseudonyms, and I think somebody showed up at his house, like, uninvited and stuff. It's like, what are you doing? Listen, I'm a weirdo. And, yeah, I'm sure there's no other weirdos on the internet, especially when you statistics. When you do enough statistics, you realize it's like, statistically, there are going to be some a-holes out there. Doesn't matter the group or community, nobody has a monopoly on a-holes. So that's my take on that. That's a great question. I think Kurt had I'm not going to pretend like I know geometric unity. It's that whole spin 7 cross 7 that Kurt had broken up some of the groups into seemed to be very interesting. And again, I'm just grasping for straws just because I think something very interesting happens around the 7th significant digit because coincidentally, Newtonian gravitational constant has about a precision of about 1 to the power 7, and then Einstein came along. It's got a precision about 10 to the 1 power the 14. At least that's what Professor Penrose said, and as far as I know, at least according to Tim Maudlin, Professor Penrose is one of the actual experts in general relativity. At least that's what I took away from Robertson Ehrenhardt's podcast when he's like, "You are one of the experts in general relativity," and Tim Maudlin's like, "No, you're totally wrong. I am not an expert." He's like, "Well, why are you giving a presentation?" He's like, "Well, I understand it," but he had recommended Professor Penrose as a. Let's see. Okay. Clamoring. Okay. Liminal is here. Where are the crowds of young researchers clamoring to follow Weinstein's great ideas? Well, that's a very interesting question. I think that was part of one of the reasons why some of those portal discords got set up. And then you had the unofficial ones, and then you had one that was kind of closer that Dr. Eric Weinstein kind of was part of for a while. I think I posted something there, and then I got timed out for like a few days or something, so I kind of stopped going around there. I don't know. Here's the thing. Statistics, and even here, even like the physics monastery and stuff, it's like, statistically, given enough interactions, you're going to have some kind of nutty bananas people occasionally. We've at least had perhaps one nutty bananas person come here. Listen, that's fine. It's just kind of weird, kind of made some folks feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. Just not going to get invited back, that's all. But I digress. And again, we're very small potatoes. It's like if you had a platform like Dr. Eric Weinstein, where it's like, I don't know, I think his claim is like, he's the math PhD with the most followers on Twitter. Okay, whatever that means. But I think some of those were set up there. But a lot of folks, it's like they do what they got to do so they can do what they want to do. Now, personally, it's kind of like you were pointing out. I'd gone to a party with some physics PhD students, and somebody there was finishing up. And I asked him, it's like, oh, what are you looking to go into? He's like, string theory. I'm like, oh, what made you decide that? He's like, oh, because it's fascinating. What am I going to say? Don't you dare do string theory? Come on. It's like, what do we got to like start policing what everybody wants to believe in? And to be fair, I'm like, I still remember going to school, like, and back like, oh God, freaking like 20 or so years ago, going through like the physics department, walking through the science building, you see these posters of like string theory and stuff. It's like, oh, it's the basic building blocks of these vibrating strings and stuff. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. I could see that. And especially since it happens to actually be very mathematically rigorous, whatever problem you got with string theory, extra dimensions or stuff like that, it's like, okay, it is mathematically rigorous. And if you happen to have something that seems to be a spin 2-like particle that looks a lot like what one would expect a graviton to look like, why wouldn't, hey man, if I was a physics student around that time, I probably would have gone into string theory. So it's like, why wouldn't you? And also, it probably doesn't hurt, and this is probably one of Dr. Eric Weinstein's greatest things that he could say about it. It's like, well, a lot of resources went to that. It's like, okay, well, if money is going to things with a string theory in it, it's like, well, maybe you would include that in some of your things. Now, how close it is to a lot of the core string theories that as it originally was, whether it was bosonic or if you're extending it, yada, yada, yada there, it's like, personally, I found papers with very interesting things, and it's like, oh, we're working in a 5-dimensional brain theory or something like that. And yes, that is something that ended up coming out of string theory. It's like, well, if I happen to use that paper, why wouldn't I cite? Why wouldn't I give credit where credit was due? Are we just so wrapped up? It's like, oh, it needs to be mine. It needs to be mine. It's like, no, I thought we were supposed to be looking for truth, not just trying to like shove things down people's throats. So let's finish up with a little quote that I think this thing was named after.
Yes, you won.
I have read Eric's paper. Here it is. I actually have it here. It's worse than you would think.
How dare you?
How dare you read your paper?
I highly advise you to spend more time in your physics department and less time on YouTube.
So we're not allowed to think about Eric's theory and write a follow-up paper about it.
Oh no, you're very much allowed, Sean.
I have my disagreements with string theorists, my agreements with them, but I respect it, and I think that they're trying their best.
The first
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with that statement. Yes, I need to pause it just because it's once you start getting around 20 seconds, we gotta have our fair use. We don't just want to steal Piers Morgan's content and everything here. We are giving our commentary and hashtag whatever section fair use. If you say it 3 times, doesn't that make it true? I don't know. Let's see what else we got. Let's finish going through some of the comments before we wrap up with our physics fight club. Is trying to market himself safe. That doesn't. Yeah, Jane's commenting. That's how he seems to be marketing himself saving. Listen, I don't know. I don't have a traditional physics background. I'm just a crazy person on the internet that may have just gotten lucky for some things here. And again, whatever I'm saying, whatever the work I'm putting out, it might be complete bunk. Who knows? We're gonna have to follow experiment. We're gonna have to follow what the data leads us towards and have conceptual frameworks surrounding those. Now, again, I'm very biased here because I'm technically a monk at the physics monastery. So, yeah, I have my own biases. I'm willing to admit that. I don't know. I remember I had a bunch of lefty friends not so long ago where they're like, yes, it's important to list your biases. I don't hear that as much anymore. It seems kind of weird. And again, a lot of this stuff kind of makes me sad because I'm pretty sure here's a generalized prediction that could be wrong. Over the coming week or so, you're going to see videos that'll probably say something along the lines of the truth about Eric Weinstein versus Sean Carroll, or the total thing that they don't want you to know. Who is they? They is everybody that is not us, aka we are insinuating an out group here. Who is the out group? Whoever you want to insert here. So again, whether you want to make that a political thing, whether you want to make that an interdisciplinary thing, personally, I think we're stronger together. The whole hashtag, thanks to author Stephen Walton, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. We rise together. Personally, I think if humanity rises together, if we were actually able to unlock new powers to literally help us level up, I think we could be doing a lot better in this world. That's a personal opinion there. Again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're not ready for it. I don't know. Maybe there is a whole, I don't know. You'll hear folks talk about, oh, what if there was a prime directive? It's like, okay, hypothetically, I'm like, let's assume that maybe Star Trek, the whole prime directive was actually real. Okay. So number one, once you're supposed to get warp technology, okay, blah, 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 then you go there. Okay. Now, hypothetically, and occasionally maybe there's some caveats and people will not always follow those rules, but I'm like, number one, hypothetically, if there just was a galactic federation or something like that, it's like, would you want to deal with us right now? Because right now I kind of feel like we're the Jersey Shore of the Milky Way. Not all, but at least where a lot of attention seems to be going, that kind of seems the case. Sandro's commenting, saying that Eric is using the MPGA approach. Make physics great again. It's going to be beautiful. Physics is going to be so great. It's going to be huge. It works. Blah, blah, blah. It is kind of a populist approach and everything. But if you're populist, I don't know. I just want to be seeing us do better and everything. Hey, man, Squatch, good to see you. Thank you. We're just popping in. No, I thought the same thing, Kali. That's why I got about 40 minutes in after he's like, oh, you're not trained in physics. You're trained as an astronomer. Yeah, technically that's true, but I'm like, you're saying he's not a physicist. I mean, he was a teacher at Caltech, and he is at, like, was it John Hopkins, and he's literally, his title is a natural philosopher. It's basically the same as Newton was, where it's like, all right, you're talking about this stuff. Okay, that's totally fine, but it's like, he does actually teach physics and stuff. So that did kind of seem like a low blow. Yeah. So again, my personal opinion, I would much rather have seen them, like, I don't know, in people with interesting ideas that maybe disagree with, I don't know, maybe a whiteboard or something behind them where you could actually go through and say, all right, this is what I'm talking about here, going through, and then somebody could comment, and then they go say, well, what about this? So now you're actually having a discussion. You're just trying to have a debate where, God, it reminds me of like the ancient European battles where people, at least I have no idea if this was the case, I wasn't there, where it's like, you line up your armies, they stand across from each other, and they just all start shooting at each other. It's like, is that really what it is? Because that's what a lot of TV and cable news or whatever, that's the point where I got out. It's like, people are just there, and then they're like, oh, just make sure you keep talking. Just talk over other people to make sure you get your talking point in, blah, blah, blah. So we're literally incentivizing people to be dicks. Now, personally, I am a dick. It's literally my middle name. Seriously. But as a dick, it's like, all right, if I realize that, maybe if I acknowledge that, maybe I could try to work to not do that as much. But all right, let's go back to the first rule of Physics Fight Club.
First rule of Physics Fight Club is don't talk about the problems with Physics Fight Club.
I had found myself in the awkward and unenviable position of defending the establishment heterodoxy.
Your intellect.
So, okay, and then they go on, all the salacious minute or so intro, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so that's about all I got right there. So, I don't know what to say. The link is in the doobly-doo. Feel free to check it out, form your own opinions and everything. But remember, it's not like in the next few days or weeks, there's going to be a bunch of videos coming out telling you the truth about what it is. Because it's not like any video with the truth about something may tend not to actually be true. Or actually be the truth. Because if somebody has to tell you exactly what to think, is that actually thinking? Or is it just the whole, I believe it's Professor Norman Wildberger that says, repetition renders the ridiculous reasonable. And on that, I'll leave you with that. God, I've gone so long. Oh, because drama is obviously so fun. And hashtag engagement, yada, yada. But that's all we got for right now. Here, all I'd say is, you do you. I ain't the boss of you. Just my only recommendation, and again, you don't got to listen to me, I ain't your dad, is just think for yourself. Just, if somebody says something, okay, why is that the case? AKA, just the Socratic method. Just think things through. Does it make sense? What are people's incentives? I'm leaving you all with that. So, peace out, everybody. It's a wacky and wild world out there, but here's hoping for a better tomorrow. So, peace.